now that we've been through the discovery process, let's take a look at the planning map that guides the rest of the business plan development. And again, these are just suggestions as far as how it is that we're going to collect the data that we need to develop a good business plan. And when we're talking about a good business plan, what we're doing is we're telling a story. We're giving a rationale for how the business is going to operate. We're projecting into the future about how it is that the person's going to make money, what kind of money are they going to make, and we're also presenting our argument for why it is that we think the business will be successful, how much money it's going to make, and why it fits this person and the market at this particular time. So what we're going to do is we're going to break that down into sections. You're going to go off, you're going to work on those sections, you're going to come back to another lesson, and then we'll move through, and finally then we're going to go through some spreadsheet applications, and then later on in this course Dave Hammis is going to talk about the PASS and Social Security applications and considerations when we're talking specifically about self-employment for an individual with a disability. So let's start with the product and service. And again, I'm going to go more in depth in a little bit, but just to run you through the map, we start at identifying what's the product or service. We talk about the market environment and the business feasibility, and so how are we going to test that we actually know that there is a market available to us and that the business is feasible. That is, that it will move forward, it will succeed, it will make the person money. Then we're going to move into the 3 C's, which are customers, competitors, and capabilities. How much can we do? Are we going to serve customers in Thailand, or are we going to stick to our local economy? Then we move on to the marketing mix. How are we going to sell this item? How are we going to reach our customers? How are we going to get the product or the service to the customer? And again, what are the best techniques for this particular business of promotion and advertising? Then we're going to move to operations, which is how do we do this business? What kind of tools are we going to need? Where's our supply chain? Do we need multiple suppliers of the same product? Do we need to negotiate special prices with suppliers? What happens if something goes wrong with one supplier and they can't reach us? Have we thought about opportunities to get wholesale pricing? What are our contingencies? And what's our production plan? How many of these things or services do we need to provide every month to make a living? And how are we going to measure those? And then finally, the financial plan. What's the cash on hand? Has there been a benefits analysis done? Are we using Social Security work incentives? What kinds of assets or tangible items are we bringing to the business ourselves? What kind of tools do we already own, perhaps, that we're going to use? What's our cash flow projection? And again, for many folks in the rehabilitation world, you don't know, you may not know a lot about cash flow and budgeting and those things, and that's okay. Anybody with a checkbook who has ever balanced their checkbook has done a cash flow analysis. So it's not as complicated, I think, as some people make it out to be. Are there going to be loans necessary? Have we thought about where we're going to borrow and what are going to be the interest rates and what are going to be the impact on our business? And then again, what are the work incentives that we're going to be able to leverage, whether it's subsidy or plan for achieving self-support? And so that's the basic idea. What I'd like to do, and in your materials, there's a sample business plan. And this is it. It's the quick launch, the one-day business plan, and it's the sample business plan. It's called Anna's Natives Arts. And so I'm going to point out a couple specifics in here, and then we're going to go back and look again at each section of the business plan that we've talked about. So if you look on the second page of the business plan, you'll see that right away we have an overview, which is just kind of an introduction to Anna and who she is, and it's right there. It's the opening paragraph. And then we move down, and as I noted earlier, there's a mission statement of sorts, and she has 4 parts to her mission, right? It's to establish a self-sustaining business. It's to hire at least one part-time staff within 18 months. And that's to relieve the ongoing support that she has from her provider agency and her family. And so that has obvious financial ramifications. She's got to make X number of sales per month to be able to afford to hire that person. And so that becomes a planning issue. And again, folks who are going to invest in your business, folks like vocational rehabilitation or the workforce investment system, or perhaps somebody who's loaning you money, perhaps the family is saying, we want to see that you're going to be self-sustaining at some point. Certainly the Social Security Administration is going to be interested in that if you're applying for a plan for achieving self-support to start your business or to help with that start. So it's important to look at, in your mission, what are some of the financial or self-sustaining activities that you're going to undertake and achieve through your business. You're going to develop an international repeat customer base. Now, that's an important thing in this particular kind of retail business, is that repeat customers are an important base for most retail businesses. It's been said that 80% of your profits come from 20% of your customers in this kind of business. So it's very important to have a strong customer service, a strong repeat business aspect to your business plan. And we're not talking pages and pages of strategy here. We're talking about a very simple, treat people right in your business and they'll come back to you. Keep good products at reasonable prices and you will get repeat business. And to become known as an eBay leader in authentic Native American jewelry sales. And that's her core business, is she's selling over eBay. That's her distribution channel. She's going to be selling over eBay these unique pieces of Native American art manufactured locally, one piece at a time in New Mexico. As we move down then, you can see, and again, just reference this, print it out or look at it on your screen there, the products and services section. You can read that for yourself. I'm not going to go through that word for word, obviously, but her primary outlet in here is going to be eBay. And that allows her to reach all kinds of people everywhere in the world, and over time she will have created, through her feedback on eBay, she will have created a strong customer base, and really it's a networked, a sort of a virtual network business model. So we've put in a little bit of data to make our case about why eBay is important. For one thing, it's an accommodation for her. She also likes the computer work, and she's got that kind of technology. She obviously knows her market, but selling in Old Town in New Mexico is not as accessible to her as her computer is. And so she's been selling at flea markets locally, but again, she's not necessarily going to get rid of that, but eBay allows her to hit customers all over the world, and she's not competing with her suppliers every weekend at the Indian market. So we've put in a little data here, which is going to be important when you write whatever business plan you're writing. We've gone on to do a little research about eBay businesses. For instance, CBS News estimates that over 250,000 Americans have quit their day jobs to open full-time businesses on eBay. That's an important piece that establishes eBay as an obvious outlet for this kind of artwork. Plus, she's been selling on eBay, and that got into our feasibility testing, was that not only were we selling at the flea market locally, not only had we established ourselves with local native artists who would provide the jewelry at wholesale prices to Anna, but also we've been putting up pieces on eBay and have been slowly starting to build momentum. Now she needs enough inventory to get low enough prices so that she can make a profit and start to build her reputation on eBay. We've also done some costing here, as you can see, and we've done some estimates about sales based on what she's been doing at the flea markets and on eBay in her trial sales, and again, just a very simple statement of, just to start out, we think that she can sell $30, $15 items per month, mostly the silver earrings that she's been selling, about $10, $50 items per month, and about 2 of the $100 items, the more costly things. And one of the things that we discovered in doing the research on the business was that until you have a reputation, that is, your feedback on eBay is fairly strong, then people are not going to drop $100 on your product, on a product that they can't really see very well, even though there's a picture of it. You can't tell that kind of quality. So building up the business, building up the feedback, having other purchasers say, wow, this is some of the best, authentic, certified jewelry that you can buy at reasonable prices, that's really going to be important for her building her business. So we're starting small, and we're starting with smaller ticket items, and we're going to build up over time to more expensive items. So we're really starting to understand the market here, and the fact that we've got to build this loyalty first. Okay. The other thing that we've done here is that we've made sure that we've identified the pricing structure, right? And what are the costs of selling? What are our wholesale costs? What are our sales costs? We know that eBay charges a fee. We know that we're buying the jewelry in bulk at eBay or at wholesale prices, turning around and trying to get double our money, a reasonable markup on eBay, and then paying also the fees to eBay and the fees to PayPal, which PayPal is a credit card based virtual bank sort of that allows people to buy online. It's owned by eBay, and it makes it very convenient for the purchaser. They don't have to mess with money orders. It's safe. It's credit card protected. All of those issues. And yes, it does cost Anna a little bit, but in the long run, we decided that it made it so convenient for people to buy that we wanted to go ahead and absorb that cost. And so again, you have some business decisions to make. Whenever you're working on a business plan, you have to think about, what are the costs and are the costs worth it? And in this case, it kind of made sense, right? If we move down, you'll see that we have our customers, our competitors, our marketing, and our sales. And again, that if you reference back to the planning map, you'll see that we've talked about those issues as well, right? And again, we're just simply outlining very specifically, without a lot of detail here, what are Anna's products and services. Again, to make it short and simple and as painless as possible for the customer and for the person who's going to help fund this business. Boom, boom, boom. She's selling authenticated handmade silver jewelry from the heart of Indian country. That's kind of her. That's kind of who she's going to be known as. It's moderately priced. It's not the highest priced stuff, but it's good stuff. She has a wide range of designs, so she's always getting unique items from her producers, and she's got a money-back guarantee on quality and the description. So again, very simple, very straightforward, very to the point. It shows the people that you're going to be sending this business plan to for review that you've thought through the process a little bit. Okay? Almost anybody, almost any kind of business can talk about their primary model and their customer service, whether it's money-back guarantee or whatever it is. Some sort of satisfaction, some sort of idea that the customer is important. The other thing that you'll notice here is when I review a business plan and when I'm writing a business plan, I want to make sure that you've thought deeply enough about this business that you can identify not only your obvious customer, but also a secondary customer, somebody who's going to use the business, the product, or the service a little bit differently, maybe than the primary user, the person who's going to use it all the time, right? So the primary customer in this case, and again, we didn't have to write a book here. All we have to do is show that we understand the customer base. The primary customer is American women seeking tasteful and unique, moderately priced jewelry for school and office. So we're looking at all age ranges here, but we are looking for people who are somewhat fashion conscious and obviously who have some disposable income. The secondary customer is actually the international trade. People from Europe, Australia, and Japan primarily, from what we've been able to research by selling 100 items or so on eBay prior to writing the business plan. That's primarily where the international sales came from. And again, these are folks who are looking for professional or recreational jewelry that sort of says, wow, this is Native American. This is something special that you don't see every day in Europe, Australia, and Japan. So again, very simple process. Came out of feasibility testing on eBay. Very simple front loading of a few $100s worth of items to get up there, taking the profits from them, buying some more, and putting them back on eBay, taking a few months to really test out this business idea. Obviously, some businesses you test out a lot faster than that. We've also talked about differentiation here, or the niche. Anna's Native Art stands out, and one of the sales points here is that it really is going to have a sole location on eBay. We're going to fade out the other places, the flea market, for instance. Even though her long-term goal is that she'd like to own a store, a regular storefront, and be known as a jewelry retailer, for right now, the place that you get Anna's Native Arts is on eBay. Its quality is at a good price. It's super fast shipping. She regularly heads to the post office. That gets her out of the house. That gets her known in her supply chain. Again, we're going to make it easy to purchase, and she really is going to sell with this idea that she's right there. She's right there in New Mexico where all this stuff happens. The other piece here to reinforce this is that she's going to have another website. It's not primarily for sales. It is a place, though, where people are going to find her on eBay, but they're going to also see in her description that she carries more items and special interest items on her website. And so they're going to go to that to look for other items. So that's another way. It's called an add-on in some of the language. It's a place where while you've got people buying, while they're in the mood to buy, let's capture them and have them look a little bit deeper into our business. And we'll be growing that inventory over time as well. So what we're trying to do, again, when we send this to Social Security or vocational rehabilitation or the One Stop or the CRP or whoever is funding this, even the family, that we've looked a little bit deeper, that we've looked to the future a little bit, that this really is a plan, that it's looking down the road to how we're going to grow this. Now, the feasibility, again, this was a fairly simple idea. We've been going to some of the flea markets to see how things sold. Flea markets may or may not be a good place to sell retail. Kind of depends on the environment and on the community. But on eBay, part of her learning curve here was to start to understand eBay, to have her counselor helping her with that, to have her family helping her with that, and to see if there really is a market for good Native American jewelry on eBay, and certainly there is. And so she'd sold, over 100 items, and it earned a net profit of over $500. So that sort of said, well, boy, she knows how to do this, and this looks like a great place to go. Again, promotion and distribution primarily, again, we're looking at eBay. eBay is very, very unique in the world, and certainly it's not for everybody. We actually have started very few eBay businesses. It's not something that a lot of people want to do. But it really does present a very interesting business model of presenting an opportunity to put a customer and a salesperson together, over the internet. Nothing like that exists or existed before eBay. Then we've moved down and we've done a sales forecast. Again, based on our information about what we've had available on eBay, we think that we can move, 30 pairs of $15 earrings, 10 bracelets, and 2 precious stone necklaces a month. Okay, so we can start out there, we can run those numbers, and we can gradually increase that. And as we go, as we start to do the business in reality, we'll figure out what sells and what doesn't sell, and we'll adjust that as we go. But based on our previous sales, we know that we think we can push this much merchandise. So we've done then a very simple startup budget, and looking at, again, who might be the funder for this. She's going to need a new desktop computer and a printer, and we may go to the community rehab program that supports her, which in this case is the Cerebral Palsy Center, or Voc Rehab, $2,500. She needs a computer consultant to set up some of the adaptations that she needs to be able to sell on eBay. That's another $1,500. A digital camera, a high-quality digital camera, $300. High-speed internet connection, about $400. Transportation to and from the post office primarily, and to her jewelers. She needs some bookkeeping and tax service at $600. She's going to need some startup inventory, and that's about $1,000. She needs shipping supplies, another $100 to get going. And again, those are variable costs, so she'll be able to, as soon as she sells, she'll have that built into the price of the item. So she'll be able to take care of that. And then she needs a decent website to get started, and we estimated that at about $500. So she's got a total startup cost of about $8,900, and through all of our predictions and our rollout of her business shows that that's not an incredibly terrible amount to start with, that's certainly doable, and that her sales in the first year will be $10,930, and we'll show you that on the spreadsheets later in the program. But that's the basic business plan. Is that, again, we're making an argument for funding, and what we would hope is that there are a variety of resources that we can draw from, a plan for achieving self-support, that the Cerebral Palsy Center, in this case, receives funding every year to serve Anna, so they can use some of that cash to certainly buy equipment or provide support, perhaps inventory, whatever it is, and depending on the funding streams that they're using. Obviously, Medicaid causes some hiccups in that area, so you may not be wanting to buy equipment with that, but you can certainly buy a lot of support with that, with waiver money. VR, again, can provide equipment under the tools and equipment line in the Rehab Act. They can do it under supported employment funding. They can do it under general case funding. So there's a variety of options here for funding, and also the One Stop could provide ongoing support, job coaching, a variety of sources there. So let's go back now that we've sort of looked at the sample business plan, and I do want you to go and read that thoroughly, see how we put that together, see how that tells a story in a very non-complex, a very logical way. And again, that's why we use the planning map, is to guide our conversation so that we don't get off track, that we stay to the point, and that we're succinct and we're as precise as we can be. Now, we're talking about something that hasn't happened yet. We're talking about the future. So it's always hard, and it's always a little bit concerning, I think, to many of us, that again, we're asking for something that we're not sure of. But that, in essence, is the business planning, and that's why we go back and do our research this way. So if we move on now, if we get into this business mission, what we're looking at as you write this is that we want to describe the business in 1 or 2 sentences. This is what we're going to do. It's again, it's as much for you getting clarity about the person that you're helping. Obviously, if the person can write their own business plan, that's great. Most of us need somebody to bounce those ideas off. If you're working with somebody who doesn't read or write too well, then you use your counseling techniques to draw that out, to make sure that you understand what it is that they want to do with their business. If they want to mow lawns, then that's a pretty simple kind of business. What we can do maybe is to clarify where it is that you want to mow lawns. Does this person drive? Can they get across town? Or do we need to mow lawns in my neighborhood? Do we need to go out into a development that's got 2,000 houses and try to figure out, well, you know, I really need to mow 20 lawns a week to make a living? We can run that number, right? And if that meets with that person's, you know, work abilities, that they can stand to mow 20 lawns a week, that there is a market for that, then we know, you know, that we need to go out and we need to canvass that particular neighborhood, which is nearby, that doesn't require a car to get to, that they can take there and haul their equipment down there by hand, and that they can get that job done, and that they can do X number of lawns, you know, 4 lawns a day for 5 days a week. That would work fine. Let's say that, you know, maybe not in all that detail to start out, but let's say that it's a lawn mowing business in, you know, the Quail Grove Estates development, 2 blocks from where I live. Very, very simple sort of statement. Think about, as you develop this business, what problem does this product or this service solve for the customer? In other words, why do they need this? Most of the stuff that we buy during the day we don't need. You know, I could have had a Coke or a Pepsi. Why did I choose Pepsi? Something told me that I should take that. Why did I buy a bottle of water instead of just going to a faucet? Was there something convenient about having it in a bottle? You know, again, we make buying decisions all the time based on convenience, based on price, based on status, based on, you know, the need that it satisfies. So think that through. Why would somebody buy Anna's art or her jewelry? Why would they buy the jewelry that she's selling, and why would they buy it on eBay? Well, because maybe they're busy. They're busy students. They're busy professionals. They don't have time to go shopping. Maybe it's a man. You know, there might be a tertiary customer. Maybe it's a man who needs to buy a birthday present for his spouse. Okay, and he doesn't know anything about jewelry, so he goes on eBay and looks. And here's Anna, who maybe at this point has 1,000 sales and 1,000, you know, 100% rating, and 1,000 customers who have said, man, this was a great value. It's really great stuff to wear. I get so many compliments on this jewelry. Then I know I've got a pretty safe bet, and I should buy from Anna. These are the kinds of things that we're looking for. And you don't have to write all that down. You can capture that in a sentence or two. But I want you to have that in the back of your mind that, wow, there is some strategy to this business. Okay? And then write, again, 2 or 3 goals for the business. Part of what funders want to see is that you're going to be self-sustaining, or that you're going to work towards being self-sustaining. And that's what we all hope for, I think, in our lives, is that we want to be independent, that we want to be financially capable of moving forward, that we want to have enough to retire on. And why shouldn't that be the goal, right? But also sales goals are perfectly reasonable here. Customer service goals are perfectly reasonable here. You know, how many sales do you want to make? How much money do you want to make? All of those are reasonable goals. Those can be monetary data kinds of goals, or they can be qualitative kind of goals. So let's go work on that. And then once you've got that written down, and again, we want it written down primarily in the form of it's telling a story. So we want complete sentences. We want complete thoughts. Doesn't mean that we can't do bullet items. That's fine. But introduce it. Talk about it a little bit. Again, look at the sample business plan or other business plans. If you go to our website, griffinhammis.com, you can find other sample business plans. You can do a web search. I wouldn't ever want you to copy somebody else's business plan, because they're generally not unique enough, but you will get some ideas about language and formatting techniques. So Go do that, and then we'll come back and we'll start on the next section on products and services.